Works. All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Here I am live with my good friend Byron. He is an exceptionally talented technician.
I'm honored.
He made a freaking laptop from scratch, and I want to show you this thing. It is an open source laptop, essentially, that is, he pretty much put together this thing from scratch that boots faster than a MacBook. How old were you when you made this thing?
I was 8. I guess I'm still 18. I've been 18 since.
Okay, so you were 18 when you made your own computer from scratch that boots faster than a MacBook. So can you walk me through the thought process? Like, what made you want to do this? What made you just jump into this as an idea? And for 99% of my audience that is lucky that they can get their laptop to work, how'd you learn how to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of got this working as a dare from my friend, and he loved like saying random things just sort of out of the blue. And one day he was like, "I've always liked electronics, and I've built lots of them." By the way, should I look here or here?
That doesn't matter.
All right, great. And so I've spent a lot of time developing like open source hardware. I started with keyboards with ZMK and QMK. I worked for Keychron for a bit. I designed other products. I think coming out soon. I hope so, hopefully. And then I worked on open source robotics tech. So I was in Murex Robotics, and that's the team I founded, and I did a lot of open source electrical engineering. Among them, at least I claim to have designed the world's smallest Ethernet switch, smallest and cheapest. So if you incorporate the cost and the size, it's very compact, only $7 a pop, and we sold like 25 units just to like say like screw you. I could do like what other companies are selling them for like $60. I was making Ethernet switches that would have costed like $60 for $7, and I wasn't even doing mass production. Right? If it was mass production, I could have sold them at like $3, $2. And like I wasn't making any profit, but it was sort of a show that like I want like open source hardware, like it's important, and like I wanted to enable people to be able to make their own hardware. And I did the first USB implementation, USB 3.0 implementation on Raspberry Pi, and so I incorporated the UPD 720202 or something like that. It's a weird ass chip from Renesas, and I got that working, and I think it's in the bottom of the ocean with Cornell. Don't quote me on that, but I think one of the researchers reached out and we're using that.
What is it doing there?
It's
What's the project?
Yeah, so I mean I was on the underwater robotics team, so it was very fitting, but they were doing
when
deep
were you
sea.
on underwater robotics team? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
How old were you on that?
I did this throughout my 4 years in high school. I also did FTC, the first robotics.
When you were 14 years old, you were making robots that went to the bottom of the ocean.
Not bottom of the ocean, bottom of the pool.
Okay, bottom of the pool.
Yeah. So I spent about 3-4 years on that. MRX.ee, that's the site. And then I also worked on the carrier board, which is a CM4 breakout board for underwater robotics. And then the Ethernet switch, I did some modular ESC work. I designed my own like communications protocol for like serial. So you every ESC had its own RP2040, and you can like communicate over serial to each one. So it would be like independently parallelized control. And then I was working, and then I did some research for terahertz imaging in Boston. And then this summer that past summer I was inspired. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna make a laptop, and that's what led to it. Like I've pretty much built everything that leads up to making a laptop. I've done mechanical design for that underwater robot, done software development, bringing up hardware, bringing up for the board that is in that robot, done like open source. I've done open source hardware and software my entire life, and like I just like love it. It feels very good, and it's something that's super important to me. And I think the way I learned engineering was through people willing to share their ideas, and posting them on GitHub and like YouTube and all these places, like you, Lewis. And so I wanted to put my own piece into that puzzle, into that sea of knowledge. And so that I thought that laptop would be my best contribution. I actually like churned that video out in like a week. I recorded a minute, wrote a minute, edited a minute, and like I did it minute by minute. I know what you're supposed to do is write a script and then edit the entire thing and then film the entire thing. But I had to cram it in my winter break. So I like filmed a minute, like wrote out the minute, and then did the next. And actually like it ended up making a lot of sense because I did it minute by minute. So I guess for that video it turned out pretty well because it made a lot of sense following through. And like actually a lot of things ended up falling short from that video. I wanted to do I love Blender and I love making 3D animations. So I wanted to animate like sort of how everything came together and like the layers of a PCB and all that, but I just didn't have time. So yeah, that's sort of how that laptop came to be. Overall, I mean, of course, there's like a lot of detail into like how I put it all together. But
tell me the cursing moments.
Yeah.
Like, what are the areas where you were trying to do something, it didn't work, you try it again, it doesn't work. Like, you throw it at the wall, you start again, you give up. Was there any of that in this process, and what was that like?
Yeah, there was so much, and I talk a lot about the EDP drivers on my own video, and so that was like a huge pain in the ass for just getting the display to. So I got a 4K AMOLED display, and the pinout just doesn't match what a regular LCD is, because an OLED, for example, doesn't have a traditional backlight. You don't modulate the backlight. Well, you could if you wanted to, and obviously there is a higher voltage for driving and a completely different pinout. Just because Samsung wanted to or something, I don't know. But that was a very big problem, and I talk a lot about that. And in the end, it was just like basically like 3 development boards to get it running, like just for the display, and then like a month of firmware development. Just like I ended up having like a very specific high-speed clock configuration feeding into the display core, and then I muxed the display core to export to channel out EDP, and then that was sort of that process. But I guess another thing that like really pained me was sort of the integration problem of putting everything together. And when I say that, I mean like when I say I want to build a laptop, like what goes first? It's like a chicken and egg problem of like I know I have to make a main board, I know I have to have batteries, I know I have to have a chassis, and I know I have to have a display. But like what comes first, and what do I design around? So in the end, I settled on designing the chassis first, and I chose the batteries, and that determined my size for the main board. But then I still screwed with the main board, and this is more of this happened to me more of a mechanical issue, because my main board was I designed it to be 90 millimeters wide to fill up the entire chassis. What I didn't realize is that there was also like the hinge protrudes into the chassis, and I forgot to account for that, like 5 millimeters. So that's why if you actually look at the CAD for the laptop, the hinge is asymmetrical. So like if a laptop was like this, like usually it's on either side, right? But for mine, it's like on the same side, on the right side, because again the main board covers the entire left side of the chassis. And so that left me with this huge problem of I have an asymmetric hinge, thus my weight to the hinge is being applied unevenly, and also since the entire hinge is asymmetrical, the mechanical design of putting everything into the hinge is very, very difficult. And like I'm not a mechanical engineer at all. Like I'm very, very bad at it. So the hinge ended up being super, super flimsy to the point where it's like it was like honestly the worst design piece.
So you're gonna go work for HP, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, no, I mean like all the good laptop companies have good hinges, and like that's a really defining feature. I think like being able to open up the hinge with one hand and being rigid is a huge mechanical issue. So that's something that I like. If I were to do it again, that's something I completely redesign.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at why people are complaining about my audio. I'm recording my own copy just in case.
Okay.
I give up. If I had good audio, this wouldn't be my channel.
Yeah.
We gotta do that. Okay, so what is your average person that's 16 or 17 years old does not have the skills to take on this product? Where is what are the things that you're doing that other people are not doing to the mindset? Like for me, one of my mindsets, and I'm way behind where you were. I felt in college. Is like Roy Hendrickson told me there's nothing college can teach you that you can't learn yourself if you really want to know it. And he always had this mindset of if there's somebody else out there that seems like they like a normal person, and I talk to them, and they know how to do something I don't, it instantly makes me feel like, oh, I should be able to do that too. So 99% of people your age are not going to do this. Like, what do you attribute you being able to do all of this stuff to?
I think it's exactly what you said. Like, when someone else says I can't do it, I'm like, why can't I do it? Like, I know a lot of people said like, oh, $5,000 is a lot, and like it's how are you doing this in a high school? And like my high school, of course, is very privileged to have all the resources. But like again, like what people don't realize is that I literally just at the back of a classroom and like a single just a plastic desk the size of like probably like this desk, like just like this big, and like I had like a really old biology microscope that smelled and was like rotting, and like that was just in the back of a classroom. I found it. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be my micro soldering setup. I like put a piece of plywood under it, and like I put masking tape so I don't burn the wood, and like that was my micro soldering setup. And like I stole flux from like the lab, and like I didn't have a fancy power supply, so I literally had three analog power supplies stacked up so I could do 3 voltage rails.
Lab has flux in it, by the way.
No, that's
shout out Tex.
We just had like we had like 5 or so abandoned microscopes from like the last century. Literally, like I couldn't find it online. Like it didn't exist. And then the flux is from like the makerspace that like just had like one soldering setup, and like And so I was trying to piece together that setup, like piece by piece, and like ended up being okay to the point where I could do all the micro soldering setup. I had to like swap I2C lines to do testing and everything, because like in my Genius I like swapped SD and SCL one side to the other and it didn't work.
Done that before. My
Yeah.
jumpers for the SMC.
Yeah. It's the worst. And so just a bunch of stuff like that. And I learned literally everything from like YouTube, online, talking to friends, and like just sitting there like every night and like thinking about the problems that might happen, and like just like none of the questions are like need knowledge in the sense of like, oh, you need to be able to do quantum mechanics to be able to, you know, build a laptop. You just need to be able to sit there with your problems and figure them out. Like it's and like just be able to Google things, and like maybe nowadays you can ask ChatGPT. Like I guess when I did it, ChatGPT wasn't good enough because it was like almost a year ago, and so you just like, for me, I just like sat there every night until like 2 a.m. like with my problem, be like, okay, how can I figure this out, and like plan ahead. And that's just really all. I thought that was all there is to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you want to do next?
Next, like right now, I'm working on this ultralight mouse, and it's super interesting. I haven't had much time to work on it between like college and like just trying to get used to everything new. But it, like my entire point is I hope to have it like an engineering challenge of. I'm not a very good gamer, but I do appreciate people that are very good at, you know, CS:GO or Fortnite or Valorant or something like that, and I want to build like the lightest, highest performing mouse possible. Like I want to beat the latency records. I want to do higher polling rate, and I want to, you know, have it as light as humanly possible with a carbon fiber shell and everything, and just like top of the line performance. And like, and it's an incredibly difficult challenge. Like everyone's thought about doing, like not everyone, but like a lot of people have thought about doing this. In the sense of, you know, everyone's had their own ideas of how to accomplish this, and people have done various attempts at it. But I want to do one that looks like a product, and hopefully achieves really high performance, and then I hope to have it all open source, like
This is
from
one without a battery.
So I know I said I want to make it without a battery, and I still think it's possible. I just think that for the power system, I hope there to be layers. I want there to be like a lithium-ion solution where you can just have a regular battery in there and it can last forever, right? I might have a zero battery solution that's lower power. You might get lower performance, but you never have to charge it, and it could be even lighter. And then in the middle tier, I might have some like alternative power storage solution that could charge really fast but can't last very long. So yeah, that's like I want to sort of layer it, because all you need to do is really provide like somewhere between like 2 and 5 volts across the different components, and like it'll just work. But like right now I'm doing this, I'm again reaching the sort of chicken and egg problem of, do I design the power system first and do all the firmware development and the electronics, or do I actually do the mechanical engineering and the hardware? So this time I'm taking a different approach of doing the software and getting the chip to run, and then getting some numbers so I can base my power calculations off of. And then from there I design my shell and my mechanical design around the electrical stuff first.
Yeah, I remember hearing from you like 6 months ago, and you said, "Oh, but no, I finished making a laptop that boots faster than MacBook from scratch." And
That was
then,
clickbait.
and then I'm going, and then like I'm going to work for Neuralink before I graduate high school, and I'm going to make a mouse that functions without a battery. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you find time for all this stuff?
Neuralink
I
was
don't have time
incredibly
to run a
fun.
company and have working audio and a YouTube live stream, which will be fixed in the recorded version.
Okay,
I
yeah.
know, you guys can all STFU.
Yeah, thanks guys.
It's the team
Um,
it's a DPA 41.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. This is my first time in a live stream, by the way. I've never live streamed.
Where do you find the time for this?
I guess high school has taught me to be like quite efficient with my time. Like my school was very academically rigorous. I had the fortune of like finishing quantum mechanics in junior year, and I finished I finished like calculus and did a bunch of like other random math, like game theory, dynamical systems, and a bunch of stuff like that. And that taught me to like do work really fast and be very manageable with my time and reasonable with what I can do. And like, for example, when I worked at Neuralink, I pretty much put most things aside to just dedicate all my time at Neuralink. And like senior year, I really didn't care about school anymore, so I just put all my time into making that laptop. And now I want to put as much time as I can to making that mouse. Like I guess it seems like I'm doing a lot, but I really it's just like I want to segment my time. So like these 3 months is just like purely I'm like completely obsessed with this one laptop or this one project, this one mouse, and then the next time I do this, and the next time I do that, and like that's how I found myself to best focus and go into like flow state. Like when I work, I usually work from like 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. I just like don't get out of my chair and I just like grind out problems. Whether that's like routing a PCB or something. So
I
yeah,
find that the best solutions that I come up with are at 2 or 3 in the morning. When
exactly.
there's nobody else around and everybody else is asleep, and I know there's no cars going by, and it's
Yeah.
just in my head. Like, it feels slower for some reason. I don't know how to describe
It does.
And when I have
Yeah.
that slow feeling, it's just easy to start getting things done.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's certainly very unhealthy, but like, yeah, it is very, very good. That's how I come with most of my ideas. But also, people say don't sleep, which is not true. I actually like get quite a lot of sleep. I get good sleep. Yeah.
You manage your time very well. It was a pleasure
Thank
meeting
you.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
for taking the time. And
Thank
I'm
you,
going
Lou.
to edit this with a working
All
copy
right.
of audio for people to listen to later.
Yeah.
You should check out his YouTube channel. He has a tour of a factory. He has the
Yeah.
MacBook he made. He's going to put his mouse up there. And
Yeah.
everything else.
Thanks so much, Lewis, and good to see everyone.